Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and welcome to our first look at the Rookery, a dungeon that you find in the first zone of War Within, one of the two that's testable on this very first build of Alpha. So I did this dungeon on Alpha on the first day of the Alpha, and my impression of this place is pretty cool. I was on a Windwalker Monk, which was apparently OP as heck, because Dorky had damage meters somehow, which I didn't have, but yeah, spec is a tremendous amount of fun. You start off kind of getting to these caged griffins, because these evil, earthen, rebel, void-touched kind of faction have taken over the Rookery, which is a place where these griffins were, I guess, hatched and raised for the earthen. And these first few trash pools, not too much going on that mattered for us in these normal dungeons. There's this hammer that goes out and comes back in. Reminds me a little bit of Dawn of the Infinite Rise, except it didn't stun, but the same kind of effect as that orb that the maiden shoots out and then comes back in. So you clear out those first few packs, you hop on these griffins, and then you're approaching the first boss room. And you actually need quite a bit of space to fight this first boss, and I would say this first boss was the worst part of the dungeon because there was a lot of melee unfriendliness on this fight. But this area of the trash here, a lot of swirlies to dodge from any of the birds that you have. And I think those swirlies do knock you back if you get hit by them. At least they do on the boss fight as well. There's a frontal as well that they're doing. And there's raid damage coming out. But yeah, mostly it is just the griffins themselves. The griffins, the griffin riders, those are the mobs that were doing anything. Most of the other mobs, it seemed like were just kind of casting a lightning bolt here or there. Otherwise, were pretty ignorable. But yeah, there's that boss. Kyrios, the first one of the dungeon. But for now, we just wanted to clear out a little bit of the trash on the side. I think you do want to clear out probably at least half of the trash in this room so that you have some room to fight this boss, because otherwise there could be an incident or two. I did this dungeon a second time that's not in this video, and there was certainly a little bit of a snafu that ran into there. That may be something to check the Potty C YouTube channel. I think we may put some footage up there. Me, Max, and Dorky, like, we just the three of us did some of these dungeons and we wiped this boss. So here it is. Kyrios does that lightning dash, charges towards the swirly, does a actually knockback if you get hit by that swirly, which a very big knockback can cause you to pull some extra trash. The other thing that's going on here is basically the maiden mechanic from Tomb of Sargeras, which is, I guess, like a 10-year-old mechanic now. But basically when this charge expires, bam, you can see I zap everybody for 500k, which is not actually a lot anymore. But what you're supposed to do with it is jump into the middle of the room there. You can see where the boss is going now. If you jump down into the middle there, you instead don't explode on everybody else, and it saves a lot of damage. So presumably that's going to be a required way to deal with this on Mythic. But yeah, then the boss goes into the middle of the room, zaps around. There you can see the power of the knockback, a tremendously powerful knockback if you get hit by that charge. And yeah, that's my main gripe with this fight, is that if you get the mechanic where you have to jump in the middle, you're out of commission there, you can see, for like 5 seconds. The boss charges, and you need to make sure that you don't stand in it swirly, which is bigger than it looks. The boss runs into the middle of the room and does this laser thing that like stuns you if you get hit by it, which you can see I test here. That's testing. I intentionally ran into that to test it. Just a big stun. And all of that leads to a fight that can have pretty low uptime if you're melee. Which I think one big thing that would be nice is if you could just still hit the boss when it was in the middle of the room. That would make it feel a lot better. Then you drop into this middle bit here. You will die to that fall damage if you are not topped. And then you can go down and you get this like extra action button. And if you use the extra action button, you can free these chained griffins. And if you do that, you see I got this buff here. This buff lasts for the next minute. And this buff like deals some free zaps of damage to enemies nearby. It doesn't stack or anything, so no reason to do multiple of them. And you're slow falling here as well. But yeah, you can see how now I'm doing a little bit of zapping to these enemies. That is what you get. So everybody, I guess, should at least free one griffin on the way down, is the idea of that. Then we enter this area. There's a little bit of like gravitational pull void mechanics happening here that some of these mobs have. The big guys, I think, do one. And other than that, there wasn't too much important from the trash here. There's some, I guess, ground junk. Some stuff that reminded me as well of Crucible of Storms. I think there's like the like these mobs were putting absorb shields on them. So there's actually quite a lot of anti-absorb shield tech that exists in hero trees, in actually like class trees, but also like one of the new Shadow Priest trees has some anti-absorb shield tech. Stuff like Unravel for Evokers, Wrecking Throw for Warriors. This might be a good dungeon for that because the later part of the dungeon, actually here you can see this Void Shell cast, ends up putting a big shield on that Rookery there. The last boss as well does have quite a big absorb shield mechanic on it too, so this might be a good dungeon for that kind of thing. But other than that, you're just kind of walking through here, clearing these packs, and we at least weren't having too much difficulty. I mean, just a normal dungeon, obviously, right? But until we tried to do this dungeon with just 3 people, we didn't have any trouble with the full group of 5, at least. Tuning is not something to at all really think about, though, from this kind of early alpha content. That's almost entirely something that's the kind of thing that changes the most from these early builds to when stuff actually goes live. There's weird scaling, all that kind of stuff. We all have a aura that reduces our damage dealt as well, because if you unlock all your hero talents, you got a damage done reduction thing aura as well on your character. That's how alpha works right now, which is a little bit weird because everybody I know just unlocked all their hero talents because of course you want to play with all of them, not just not have them because it's the new thing. But yeah, so then I guess I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here because even my powers of rambling have not lasted us to a new pack of mobs that do new things. So let's just press the little forward arrow key a little bit. A couple more Rook Guards, Thunderers, doing this Implosion, which leaves behind that ground puddle thing, attracting shadows, drawing us in, putting swirlies beneath us. Then we get to the next boss here, which is Stormguard Gorin, who I believe is a corrupted earthen enemy. So earthen on the side of the void. Hate to see that. And you clear these trash mobs first that do their little swirlies behind. Now this boss actually had a lot of mechanics, a lot of dodging and stuff. So it does this Crush Reality where it turns around, or it picks somebody, I think, jumps on them, and then leaves behind a void puddle and also shoots out these tornadoes. I stand in this void puddle for a bit. It just does damage. It doesn't do anything else, so I'm just karmaing it for value there. And then it also does Dark Gravity, where it grips you all in. This does damage over time as well. The gripping in does damage over time, and then it does big damage and knocks you back if you're in the middle. Crush Reality seemed like it was generally targeting the farthest person. And then there's this mechanic, Chaotic Corruption, which you don't actually run this on top of somebody, but it just looks like when it explodes, it deals a bunch of damage to the person, and then it also jumps to the nearest person. I don't know why it has a targeting circle around it. I don't even think it does AoE damage within that circle or anything like that, but it is like it has 4 stacks, and each time it explodes, it loses a stack and then jumps to the next nearest person. That is something that was hurting quite a bit, actually, even on normal, so I suspect that's going to be something in M+, for instance, where like the first person who gets it is going to get an external, they're going to pass it to the tank, then the tank's going to pass it to another durable person, and then that person's going to pass it back to the tank, all while you're dodging the other mechanics of the fight, right? So pretty neat little fight. I would say a fight that has a lot of potential to be a very hard but also pretty fun M+ boss. So after that, we clear one more pack, and then you hop down here, a little water drop, very reminiscent of Blackrock Foundry, the drop down there. And then we have these Void Stones. Now, this is my early guess for mob that is most hated in high fortified Mythic Plus, because these guys put a big old shield on themselves every so often, and then while they have that shield active, they pulse for damage on the group. So particularly in high keys, that's the kind of thing where I expect that, you know, it's % health-based shield. It's going to cast more often because it has more health, because it's living longer. The pulses are going to be bigger. It's going to be scarier and scarier. You have these pulls here where you're dealing with 2 of them. My guess is that you're going to skip this double pull of Void Stones, and all of the single pull Void Stones, you're going to try really hard to nuke them down. That's my early guess for how Void Stones are going to operate in M+. I got a little spidey sense that's saying these are going to be the annoying M+ mobs in here. And one of the reasons as well why anti-shield tech is, I think, going to be good in this dungeon. You do get some help, though. That Griffin that shows up here will put that will throw its lightning axe at them. If you can put the Void Stones, the Void Stones, these enemies, inside that hammer thing, it will stun them. It'll stun them for like 4 seconds. I don't think it does any damage. I don't think it has a damage amp, anything like that. I think it just stuns them. And I don't think it stuns you if you're in it either. So it's just purely a beneficial thing. While you're fighting these mobs, you're just going to get these hammers thrown in. You can see we didn't figure it out on this pack, but I think it's on the next pack we kind of figure out, like, oh, that stuns them. And you can actually see that Voidstone still got stunned there, so it's got a fairly generous hitbox for stunning those mobs. So let's see if we can see that happening here. Other than that, you just have these Void Fragments that do their Void Bolts, and you have Void Attendants, which I don't know what they do. I guess they do these volleys that you're going to want to stop. They are stunnable mobs, though. But yeah, there you can see all these mobs getting stunned by that Storm's Vengeance thing. And yeah, that's the Voidstones. Let's skip ahead to the last boss here, which is the Voidstone Monstrosity. So the Voidstone Monstrosity, big fella, hulking blue rock man, throws this Oblivion Wave, which is just a tank blaster, but it's also a frontal, so your tank, make sure nobody's behind them. The boss also puts a big shield on itself. Right now you can see it's got a shield on itself. Every time you break through that shield, the Griffin is going to show up and do a big hunk of damage at the boss, but that's going to spawn some adds, so you can see those adds getting spawned back behind us there. So got to go kill those adds, ideally, is what's happening here. And I don't know what happens if they cast Reshape, but I assume it's not good. I assume you don't get extra items or anything like that if that happens. Then the boss is doing these big knockbacks, big swirlies. It also is going to target 2 players every so often with this ability that will put down a expanding purple puddle. So this may be one of those fights where you kind of rotate around the room, leaving gunk behind you as you go. I think it's this one. Yeah, Latent Void maybe. Oh, no. Okay, we stopped it in time. It got stunned by the cast there, so maybe that's something you're supposed to do because you stun it every time you break the shield that it casts on itself. That Griffin comes down, does a big chunk of damage, and stuns it. But yeah, then you can see also there's the purple puddle spawning thing that you can do. The boss has big knockbacks. You don't want to get knocked back into the water. You can look in the minimap there, and you can see Growl down in the water. Unfortunately, did get knocked off, but we were able to finish off the boss because once you do break through each of these shields that it keeps recasting on itself, it does take a huge amount of damage from that Griffin. Just a kind of absurd amount. I guess the Latent Void cast just always gets interrupted by that, maybe. Maybe that's how that happens. Maybe that's how that's scripted. Anyways, that's the Rookery. Notably a 3-boss dungeon as well, so pretty quick one. And yeah, I quite enjoyed this, aside from the melee unfriendliness of the first boss. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and stay tuned. Probably in like 2 hours, I will have the Cinderbrew Meadery video up, which I think is an even better dungeon. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.